Am I the a-hole for telling my parents I can't wait to move out? Plus update. Original post. Hi everyone. For as long as I can remember, I've been the child my parents expect the most from, yet give the least to. An example is I'm a medical school applicant. I went to the cheapest state school, and I'm a paid intern at a cardiologist's office. I have yet to hear my parents congratulate me or even say that they're proud of me. My older sister went to the most expensive school for undergrad and the most expensive nursing school. In total, her tuition cost about $500,000. To add, they got her a gift when she applied to undergraduate schools, and then when she graduated, when she got into nursing school when she graduated, and when she passed her NCLEX. I have yet to receive anything, even an affirmation statement. Thankfully, I can say my family is comfortable financially, but I do my best to avoid any additional costs for them, hence the cheapest schools possible. On to the issue. They expect me to watch after our dog and my sister's kid every waking moment of the day. I haven't had any time to myself because of this. I have plans? Nope. Can't have them. Gotta stay home and watch the dog so my parents can go out. Want to watch a movie? Nope. Can't. My sister needs me to go do her laundry, and if I say no, it turns into an issue. There's so many examples of this, but my cup overflowed when I was studying for the MCAT, and they did not give me enough respect to leave me alone to study. I was constantly watching after my dog, catering to them and their guests, and taking care of my then pregnant sister, as if she doesn't have a husband, and I ended up having to retake. Today in the car, my mom asked if I'd move out if I got into an out-of-state school, and I said in a heartbeat. She was visibly upset and asked why in a pretty angry manner. I mentioned all of the above reasons and then added, if I stay here, you guys will be the reason I fail academically. My whole family isn't talking to me now. Am I the a-hole? I know I need privacy and a stress-free study space for when I'm studying to become a doctor, but seeing how upset my mom got made me feel bad, so I don't know. Edit to add. A few of you mentioned moving in with someone. I responded with how my grandparents have offered for me to move in with them, but how that resulted in the comments. Additionally, I pay for everything of mine. The only thing I don't pay for is a roof over my head, which I am thankful for. Someone mentioned confusion with my thankful portion of my parents being comfortable. Yes, they are comfortable enough, but that doesn't mean that they cover my expenses. And whatever they have covered, I have eventually paid them back. Another thing to add is I've mentioned in a comment a while back, they mentioned that they would help with medical school tuition. But as I also said in that comment, I don't know how likely that situation will be. I'll try to update if anything else occurs. I'm hopeful that saying this to them today would maybe make them rethink how they've been towards me. Slide update. My mom came into my room today and told me her and my dad want to set up a family meeting tonight with my sister. I told them only if my SO, uncle, and aunt can be there too. If this happens, I'll let y'all know. Now for the top of comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. Your sister is clearly the golden child, and you are being taken advantage of. Move out as soon as you can. I just feel very unappreciated. A simple "I'm proud of you" is literally more than any monetary gift for me at this point. My entire extended family sees clear divide in treatment and treats me how I wish my parents treated me. When my uncle found out I applied to medical school, he sent me flowers and sent me the cutest message describing his appreciation for me and all I do for his kids and myself. Not the a-hole. By this point in time, unfortunately, no congratulations from your parents is coming. You will just need to focus on your studies for yourself and utilize the library more so you can't get made to do things around the house or babysit. Now for the update. Update. Hey everyone, I have an update for you all. Thank you to those who have given their advice, wisdom, and kind words. Thank you to those for their concern for my well-being. It means a lot. After this morning when my mom came in to tell me about the meeting, I called my significant other, been together for 6 years now, who ended up seeing this post. He said he wishes he can take me out of this situation sooner. His parents depend on him in many ways, medically and financially. But he promised me the second I get into any school that him and I would start apartment hunting so we'd live together. In that moment, I couldn't stop crying from how happy I felt. He doesn't want me moving out on my own because he has before, and he knows how demanding it can be, especially since I'll be in school and won't have the opportunity to work as often as I do now. So if he can contribute in any way to lessen my load, he said he would. I then called my uncle, and we spoke for a bit, mostly him reassuring me and comforting me while I cried. He said he'd definitely come, and he did. Someone mentioned him being a great person. You're going to love him even more. So when they all arrived, we all sat in my living room, and my dad started the conversation with, "Why do you feel the need to move out in a heartbeat?" My uncle then instantly pretty much exploded on him, telling both my mom and dad how terrible that they've treated me over the years, how unfair they've been, and the lack of reassurance that they've given to me. My aunt happens to be a licensed therapist, contributed to the conversation and explained how mentally, emotionally, and financially abusive that they've been towards me. This entire time, my parents did not utter a single word, just my mom crying. My sister, however, she got the worst of it. She decided it would have been smart to say, "Why don't you ask for stuff?" And my significant other then mentioned how I've asked for them to tell me that they're proud rather than lecturing or telling me I can always do better, and they still don't. I then added after this how I watch after their kid do their chores and housework, and how her husband doesn't contribute in any way. My parents and his parents financially support them. My uncle laughed at her. I kind of felt bad because she started crying because of how irresponsible they are at their ages, 28 female and 29 male. After this, my uncle, bless his heart, he was in tears at this point, told them if he could have seen the future when I was born, he would have found a way to take me in as his own. Moreover, I want to try to keep this short just so it's not too long to read. My parents ended up having their butts handed to them by my aunt, uncle, SO, and myself. They later finally came to the understanding that they have been shitty. Per my dad's words, I didn't realize how bad it had gotten until now. My mom just kept crying and saying she's sorry, and how she didn't realize that she began acting towards me the way her parents were with her, not the generational trauma. The end of this conversation was my SO telling them whether they like it or not, I will be moving out eventually, and there is nothing that they can do about it. I need to have my space, not only for studying, but also for my healing journey. They agreed that this might be best as it could lead to a better relationship. Additionally, my aunt suggested group therapy, which they also agreed to. Personally, I don't know. I see this as a good outcome from what I'm used to. There's usually more yelling and back and forth arguing. I'm hoping I'm not being naive in thinking they understood, but after my uncle and aunt left, my dad came into my room with tears too and just kept saying sorry. I've been emotionally distraught and mentally exhausted over this the last day. I don't know if I can forgive them because I definitely can't forget, but that's something that I can come and grow to peace with. This feels like a bittersweet resolution. Thank you all for your kind words and advice. I really didn't think that this would get this much traction. I had posted at a late hour hoping it wouldn't because I didn't want anyone to find it. But again, my eternal thanks, and I hope you all have a blessed, successful, and happy year to come. Comments. Honestly, I really didn't think that they'd ever apologize or even admit to their faults. I just think them hearing it from my aunt and uncle and SO made them really aware of how visible their unfairness had been. Someone is concerned it's an act or they'll go back to the way they were. This is what I'm worried for too. It seems very half and half. Either a relationship will grow better or bitter after I leave. I think I'll post a small update if their behavior truly changes. After the meeting alone, I needed to leave my house and I'm currently sleeping over at my SO's house. They haven't called once. They didn't make it an issue that I wouldn't be watching the dog either, which was surprising. Story 2. Update. My 28 female colleague, 30 female, didn't invite me to her wedding and it's completely unraveled our friendship. Original post. One of my work colleagues is a lifelong friend of mine. We lived on the same street growing up, went to the same school, and when I needed a job after graduating university, she made me aware of an opening at the company she worked at. I applied, got the job, and it's been quite a few years since, and we still work together. It's a pretty small company and quite male-dominated. So after we started working together, we became really close. We take all of our lunches together, we regularly stop by each other's desks for a chat, and we quickly became known around the office as inseparable. A year ago, she got engaged to her long-term partner, and I was ecstatic for her. She had a really tough time a couple of years ago, 2 family deaths close together, and I did everything I could to be a good friend to her while she was in the worst stages of grieving. She cried with me daily for weeks, and I made sure she knew I was always available to listen. I also took about a third of her workload off her voluntarily so that she could take days off when she needed to without stressing about her work building up. So now that life has gotten better for her and she's always smiling and excited, it's really nice to see. Ever since she got engaged, as expected, she's talked a lot about wedding plans, especially at her lunches. I know basically every detail. When she booked her venue, she was really excited, but refused to tell me where it was going to be, saying that she wanted it to be a surprise when the invitations came out. The wedding is 2 weeks away now, and I've long since stopped waiting for my invitation to show up. I know that they were sent because she told me all about delivering them and shows me every day of the gifts people have started to buy off their registry. I feel silly for saying it, but the more I think about it, the more hurt I feel that I haven't been included. It's a big wedding, and she's invited some other people from work that I didn't know she was even close to. She hasn't mentioned the reason why I'm not invited, and at this point I feel too awkward to ask. I feel it's just a slap in the face because I really thought we were close, and now I'm realizing that maybe we're not. The trouble is, since all this, I've started to really examine our friendship, and I'm wondering if she even cares about me at all. I can think of 100 examples of where I've helped her work through decisions, listened to her vent, stood up for her when she's had issues with colleagues, etc. Even tons of little things like if someone brings in cake and she's out of the office, I always save her a slice so that she doesn't miss out. But I can't remember a time that she did anything for me in return. Now when she talks to me, I've realized she doesn't even listen to me. When I'm finished talking, she just carries on with what she was saying before, almost as if I'd never spoken at all. If we're ever talking about me or something I've been doing, she never has anything to say. She just kind of nods and then switches the conversation back to herself. I'm starting to think that she couldn't care less about me. She just likes having someone around who she can talk at, and whoever that person is doesn't really matter to her. I've invested so many years into this friendship. It's really cut me deep. I feel used. It's also made me, being at work, incredibly lonely because she was my only friend. I've stopped having lunch with her, and anytime she tries to chat, I politely bring the conversation to a quick end and go back to work. She doesn't appear to have even noticed. I do still wish her well. I'm so glad for her that life has turned around and she's so happy, but I'm a bit lost. I'm not sure if I'm being too harsh because I'm hurt, or if I even have the right to feel hurt in the first place, as I know weddings have a finite number of guests and you have to leave people out that you would invite in an ideal world. But I'm not sure there's any way back from this either. Has anyone else had similar experiences? Am I being unreasonable or overdramatic? Should I just let the dust settle and see how I feel then? Edit 1. Just to clarify things that have been asked a lot or requested to be put in an edit. 1. She hand-delivered the invites to other people at work, so I know it hasn't been lost in the post. 2. I haven't asked her about it because I'm totally a doormat and scared of difficult conversations. And 3, I invited her to my wedding, but that was years ago, so it's possible she thinks things have changed since then. Edit 2. This has got a lot more attention than I expected, and my first ever gold from a kind stranger. Thank you. I have read every single comment. Thank you all so much for taking the time to give me advice. You have given me a lot to think about. Opinion seems to be divided over whether or not I should confront the wedding invitation issue or just let it go. I am definitely going to make sure that it isn't a mistake, but as for getting an explanation why she didn't invite me, I'm undecided. I'm going to have to think about that and the best way to proceed, but your thoughts have all been really helpful. In terms of our friendship in general, I'm not going to be too hasty to write it off. I'm going to try and put my feelings aside and see if I'm right about it being one-sided. If it is, then I will have learned a good life lesson. and if I see it as worth saving, then I'll have to deal with that the best way I can. It does seem the bigger issue here is my non-confrontational approach to my relationships. Some of your comments were hard to read, but only because I know you're right, and this is something I have to change. I've withdrawn from friendships before because they've hurt me and I've felt unable to say anything, and that's not really fair. It's a general problem that I have with uncomfortable conversations. Whenever I have to have them, I basically descend into a panic, my mouth goes dry, I shake, and I can't find the right words to say. If it's a bad enough problem that I can't ask a good friend a simple question, then I can't ignore it anymore and I need to work on this. Thank you for pointing this out to me as a real problem. I'm going to find a better way to get better at it. Now for the top of comments before reading the update. Why don't you ask yourself why you didn't get an invite? If you thought of her as one of your close friends, seems like it would be worth the effort. During my wedding, a bunch of people didn't RSVP, and I was foolish enough to be irritated and not nail them down on an answer. I got upset they couldn't RSVP and was similarly hurt. It turns out the indications never made it to a majority of them that didn't RSVP. We all sat around having our feelings hurt for no reason. This is exactly what I think is happening, and I'm irritated that OP and her friend won't just communicate. This is the kind of crap that you see in books with lazy authors. It shouldn't be happening in real life. Now for the update. So it took me a few days to decide the best way to approach this, but yesterday I had lunch with her again and had the conversation. I started by saying, "So you've sent all your invitations out now, haven't you?" She looked immediately panicked by my question, and I knew right away that she didn't want me to go down this road. When she said that she had sent them all, I asked if that meant she could show me her venue now. She showed me the website of it, including the photo gallery, and talked me through all about where everything was going to happen, all the flowers and the decorations she was going to add, etc. It's a nice enough country hotel with some pretty gardens, but I'm not sure what all the secrecy was for. I probed a little more, asking who she's invited from work. The list didn't include me. Said I was looking forward to seeing the photos so I could see how everything looked. She didn't correct me that I would see it on the day, and then I was completely sure that my lack of invitation wasn't an accident. She looked so relieved when I switched the subject and asked if she's excited about her honeymoon and having a rest from all the wedding stress. So I'm definitely not invited. I thought it over carefully and I have decided not to ask why for 3 reasons. The reason is already fairly obvious. She clearly doesn't think we're anything more than colleagues, and I've misread the situation. There were some other theories suggested, e.g., jealous husband-to-be, associating me with her past grief, but considering everything I know about her and our history, I'm sure it's not that. I'm not sure why she didn't cool it on the wedding talk with someone she had no intention of inviting, or even just bring it up with me and explain why I'm not invited. But never mind. Having an awkward relationship at work is the last thing I want. I'm worried that if I push this and it turns into an issue, that I'll look pathetic and needy, or it will just be unprofessional. I also run the risk of her bad-mouthing me to colleagues and mutual friends, and I will find it much easier and less messy to handle my own feelings quietly. This is a once-in-a-lifetime experience for her, and I don't want to be the source of drama that dampens her spirits at all. I'd rather just let her enjoy her wedding, make good memories, and not bring her down. And you know, I'm fine with not going. It was never really about getting invited to a wedding. It was more having to face the fact that I've been naive and taken for granted. And I felt silly that I invested way too much in this relationship. That's not all on her because she was never obligated to be my friend. Talking it through on my previous post actually really helped me work through my feelings. When I went back to work on Monday, I felt much more calm and more detached from it emotionally. I've looked back on our whole relationship and honestly, she's always been self-involved, entitled, and narcissistic. Being a bride has just made it more obvious, but it's always been there. She's also never given back to me, besides helping me get my job, which of course I'm grateful for, in that she's never been willing to talk to me through any problems I've had. And although I help her happily with her work, she says no if I ask her for help in return. She has a few office enemies, and even though I saw her negative traits that caused her to be disliked by some people, I overlooked them and defended her anyway. Now I have put a little distance there. It's quite apparent that she's not a very nice person, and I'm genuinely okay with just moving on. She hasn't really noticed the distance between us so far, or she has noticed and doesn't care, is relieved that I'm giving her space, so I intend to just continue with doing that. If she eventually asks why, or I get the sense that she's trying to rekindle our friendship, then it will be time to clear the air with how I've been feeling. If she doesn't and we just continue drifting, then it's probably for the best. It's sad to lose a friend, and it will probably take me some time to get over it and to become comfortable with the change in our relationship. But I have other genuine friendships and plenty of colleagues who are lovely people who I can get to know better now. The main thing I really took from my original post, and I'm so glad I did post because I needed some tough love on this, is that my fear of confrontation really needs dealing with. If I can learn how to better speak my mind as things are happening, that will stop things from building and building until I have to have a serious conversation, and it makes what would have been a molehill into a mountain. I also need to figure out how to have difficult conversations without having an anxiety attack, which not only weakens my message, but is extremely distressing. It puts me off dealing with things and being honest with people. I had a couple of books on assertiveness recommended to me, so I've bought them to start me off. I'm also looking into going to a coach or maybe a couple of therapy sessions at least to try and better myself. I don't want to hurt other people by doing this, so this has become top priority for me. Thank you so much, everyone who pointed that out to me. I was aware of it, but I didn't think it was a problem and figured I'd just be that way all my life. Now I know better. Thank you for being so honest with me. Also, thank you to those who talked me through one-sided friendship issues. I'm a good listener, and I've always attracted people who need to vent, but I'm only ever noticed the one-off conversations and didn't think I was being taken advantage of as a long-term listening ear. I've been examining my other feelings in the last few days to see if anyone else is using me in the same way, or if I've ever been doing this to others and not had the self-awareness to realize. There are a couple of changes I need to make, including a friendship that I need to set some boundaries in, and another one where I have not been giving back to the other person as much as I should have. I have learned a really valuable lesson from this about maintaining healthy relationships, and I'm very grateful for that. Edit. A few people have been asking about the books I was recommended. Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg. When I Say No, I Feel Guilty by Emmanuel J. Smith. Why Men Love Bitches by Sherry Argove. That's all for today. If you're enjoying this story, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you.